sponsored by Dower Infinity.
Welcome to Thinking Tackle. We're back at Sky Lake in northeastern France. Last time we came in April, it's now the middle of May, and as you can see, the leaves are on the trees. It looks absolutely stunning here, and what a stock of fish. 400 carp, 25 over 50 pounds, a lake record of 71 pounds, and that's what we're here for, to catch a real whacker.
Sky Lake, not just my favourite French lake, but one of my favourite lakes anywhere. I've only been here twice, but it's just magnificent. Tree lined, clear, full of carp. They're all different shapes and sizes, real characters. I'm here with Danny and Damien. Rare for us to get the chance to fish together. We've got a lot of work to do. We're also going to fish together. We've got different styles, and it's going to be interesting to see which one's going to work. I'm sure there'll be something that will stand out. So we're going to be learning things as we go on through the session. We're going to show you the bait and the rigs and the different approaches the three of us are using. And I'm sure there'll be things that we'll learn, and hopefully there'll be things that you can put into your own fishing too.
I've chosen to fish a swim called number 5. That's at the advice of Andy, and that's one of the biggest tips I can give you on these kind of holiday venues. Listen to the bailiff. At the end of the day, he lives here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He knows how the lake lives and breathes, and he knows what got caught last week. So he reckons big fish move up and down in front of this bank. Number 5 is an area where they're in front of a lot of the time. So I've cast the marker float out with Andy in the swim, and he said, yep, that's a good distance to fish. I found some nice smooth bottom. There's not too much weed out there. So 2 rods are going on that, and I've cast over to the right into the bay just up the bank from me, pulled the marker float back and found an area exactly the same distance from where I'm casting, so I can spod to both areas from the same position, which is really handy. So what I'm doing now is walking the lines out to get them mega accurate. So now that I've dropped the lead next to the float at the other end, I'm just tightening up the slack, putting it under the line clip, so I've marked the distance. And what I've done with the marker float, once I've got the spot out there and I know it's all accurate, I've wound the float down to the bottom of the lake bed, so the lead and the float are together, got the rod at about 45 degrees, put it under the line clip and wound it in. So walking these out to that same distance, I know these rigs are going to be directly underneath that bait. So you're reducing the amount of disturbance because you're not casting and casting and casting to get all the rods clipped up at the right distance, and you know you're mega accurate. So once I've got this one round in, I'm going to go around and see Adam, because we've spaced ourselves out on purpose. There's only 3 of us on the lake this week, so rather than all fishing together and having a big spider's web of lines going out, we've got one on each bank, hopefully to push the fish around the lake and all get some action. Penoir.
Hello Daniel, how you doing?
All right, mate. Oh, nearly hit me with a stick there.
Sorry mate, I'll put
that carp out there?
It was, yeah. Just
is that nearer to you, or is that nearer to me?
It's closer to you, my friend. Right, I'm sorry to say.
Okay. So you're baiting up with boilies, obviously.
Yep.
We'll talk about that later on, but tell us why you're now fishing the second swim of the session, bearing in mind I've only been here a few hours.
Yeah.
You started off there. Why are you now here?
Yeah, well, I thought, you know, sometimes 20 yards is worth moving. Basically, the reason was, I mean, you probably noticed there was a lot of carp moving between you and I in this sort of corner area.
Yes.
So
big uns and all.
Yeah, worse than big ones, weren't they?
Yeah.
So basically, it just gives me a better line angle, and it allows me to fish a spot, you know, angling into that corner and also cover open water. Whereas where I was pretty much
you couldn't get to here, basically.
No, and
Right.
because the fish are so big, I didn't want to have rods down the bank and everything. I wanted to be on top of them. So
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, that's why. So
And what have you found out there then?
well, again, I've sort of. Normally I try and fly in the face of local advice, don't I, and try and prove them wrong.
You do,
but
reinvent the wheel every time.
Yeah, but I'm not going to do that because it doesn't always work. And local advice seems to be at the moment that fishing on hard spots with small bits of bait and so on seems to be the way forward, which is what I'm going to do on one of my spots.
Right.
But the other one, this one in particular, I found some deep water. It's about 14.5 foot, but more importantly, it's really soft silt.
Right.
Your lead plugs in, you don't feel much of a drop.
Right.
There's little bits of weed, but you know, maybe if you were looking for gravel spots as per the instruction, you wouldn't want to even fish that area.
Yeah.
And you and I both know there's a lot of fish in it that don't get caught, big uns.
Yes.
So I
was just
nice.
going to say that.
Yeah.
You're fishing for a big one, aren't
I
you?
am, yeah.
Yes.
So I thought I'm going to put some boilies in the silt. Normally that would be me with all my eggs in one basket, but I've learnt a few lessons along the way, so I'm still going to fish local advice over there, but that's my big fish boilie zone.
Okay, mate. Well, I'll let you carry on making your own little bar.
Okay.
Perhaps you can go around and see Damo later on.
Yeah,
see how he's getting on.
he's been pretty busy over there, so I'll put this out and I'll go and see him.
All right, mate. I'll see you later.
See you later on.
Ta-ra.
Hello, my old chuff monkey.
All right, big dog.
How you doing?
All right, not bad.
Do you know what? You look like the lead guitarist out of that band AC/DC.
Well, your urban camo, French camo.
What? This is de rigueur, as they
Really?
say, Dons de France. Anyway, how's it looking?
Yeah, it looks all right, yeah. Weather's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Wind's pushing in
absolutely
here.
superb, isn't it? Well, why did you plot up here, apart from it being the most comfortable swim on the whole lake?
Well, this is the point.
Oh, right. What
all-
have you? Give me the point, go on.
And all good carp lakes, the point's always a good swim, isn't it?
It's true enough, yeah. Yeah.
That's why I chose this swim.
Okay. You've seen some carp, I take it?
I have, yeah. I've seen a few out here, about 50, 60 yards out. A few fish down here in this margin.
Right.
Yeah, it just looks really carpy. Got me rods out. Got all three rods about 50 yards out towards that tree, just to the
Right.
right of that van.
There's not much in the way of sort of skyline markers. You're going to have trouble respotting in the night, or?
Well, I chose that tree there, what I'm casting towards, because there's a gap down both sides of it. So
Right, yeah.
hopefully it should be a bit easier to cast.
It's the
at
only
night.
sort of obvious spot. There's not
It
much
is,
to go
yeah.
at, is there?
Fortunately, it's a really hard, clear area out there.
Is it?
Yeah, big enough for 3 rods, so
Right. What sort of depth you got?
12 foot.
Oh, nice. Okay. No weed around it at all. It's just
No, just clear.
right. Bit like this.
Yeah, very like that, I reckon.
Right. Okay. And you put a bit of bait in.
Yeah, put about half a bucket,
Right.
about 50 spods, something like that.
And you sort of, that's a sort of fairly short range for you. You like to normally get out a bit, don't you?
Yeah, generally, but because most anglers fish, put the baits out with a boat, I've tended to bring the rods back in a bit closer, because with a boat, most people go out as far as
got
they
you.
can, don't
Yeah, they
So-
will do. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Well, mate, this is absolutely the most carpy weather we could hope for, and there's 50, 60 pounders out in front of us. I hope you get one.
Yeah,
I'm going to
so
go
do
and
I.
get sorted out because the light's going. I'll see you
Cool.
later.
See
All
you
right.
later,
Good luck.
mate. Bye.
A very nice way to open my account at Sky, just over £29, well chuffed with this one, and it just shows how important it is to keep everything pinned down on the bottom. So let's have a look at line concealment. Hiding the line from the fish is something I rely on heavily in my fishing. And when I started doing the underwater films a few years ago, we put divers out in the lake, cast the rigs out, and the diver swam from the rig all the way up to the rod tip. And I was horrified what the line looked like. It's probably the scariest thing from the fish's point of view, and it's something I see people paying absolutely no attention to. So I've set it up the right way and the wrong way here, just to show you exactly how to do it. Now, this rod I've cast out hit the line clip, and I've got a flying back lead on. And you'll see as it's hit the clip, the flying back lead's gone back up the line, and you see two splashes. One is the lead, the other one is the flying back lead. And what that's doing is sinking everything down just a couple of rod lengths back from the rig, so the bit near the rig is on the bottom. Very, very important. Then I've sunk the line so you don't get a big bow in it, and then I've slackened right off, and I've allowed the line to carry on sinking. Now that's the right way to do it. The wrong way, no flying back lead on. I've cast out, it's hit the clip again, I've felt the lead hit the bottom, tighten the line up, just sunk it down, and then immediately I've put it back on the rest, and I've put a really heavy bobbin on there, and that line is now bowstring tight. And if you compare the two lines, the one on the left hand side, I've pulled some more line off, I've put a very, very lightweight bobbin on, it's hanging down really slack. That looks like I've got a back lead on. The other one, in total contrast, is bowstring tight, and that's how you see most people fishing. And believe you me, at probably 70 yards where I'm fishing, I reckon every inch of this line is off the bottom, right the way out to the leader. And if you had lead core or something on, even your lead core would be on the bottom, because you haven't given the line an opportunity to sink. Now I'm fishing with fluorocarbon here because it is so heavy and it sinks so well. The difference between fluorocarbon and normal mono is it's much harder to cast because it's more wiry, but if you get used to it, it can offer a real advantage because it just wants to sink to the bottom all the time. Normal mono will sink, but only once it's taken water on. So if you wake up in the morning, your bobbins have pulled up a little bit, that's the mono has taken water on, got heavier and tried to sink. But if the bobbin can't go up anymore, the line can't sink down. So if you notice that happening, keep pulling slack off until the bobbin stops moving, and that means the line will be on the bottom as much as humanly possible, and I promise you that will get you more bites.
Thinking Tackle, sponsored by Dower Infinity.
My bait is exactly the same as I would fish in the UK, so let's show you the gorgeous carpy munger we've got there. That's it. So we've got chili hemp in there, party mix as well. I've seasoned those up with a bit more chili and salt as well. There's a tin of sweet corn, see the little bits of corn in there. Some little tiny super halibut pellets, the 4mm pellets in there as well, and then some 10mm Newgrange boilies. We've been advised to keep baits small on here because the fish are really preoccupied on small items, so I'm not going against that at all, and to be honest it suits my style of fishing absolutely perfectly. I'm putting it in with a Skyliner spod, a bigger spod so I can get a lot out quickly, and I'm probably going to put 30 spodfuls over one spot and 20 over the other. So let's get some gear in. Fortunately both markers are the same distance from this point, so I can cast out to that one and to that one over there, and they're both clipped up at exactly the same distance, so I haven't got to keep moving the clip on the spod rod. Okay, just check it's not tangled around the tip. Let's get some bait in.
Well, before we arrived, and even after we arrived, we were told quite extensively that boilies just don't work on here, and it's an out and out particle water. Don't bring any boilies bigger than 10mm, bring little bits of particle and so on and so forth. Now, fishing like that is all well and good, but my style and my strength is more boilie fishing, and I think it's important wherever you go to try and fish to your strengths. That's really important. Do what you're confident in. Now, I have put a couple of rods out on particle because sometimes the local knowledge and advice, it would be unwise to ignore it, but I couldn't resist putting in these boilies. I've had a look at the fish in the lodge, the pictures of those fish. I mean, they're great big huge, they look like boilie eating machines to me. Great big fat mirror carp. So I couldn't resist putting in these boilies. I've got total confidence in the Cell and Activate, which I've mixed together. I'm putting in both baits, and I'm getting them out about 80 yards into an area which is, well, really, again, it's the opposite of what we've been told. It's deep and it's extremely soft, very, very silty. I mean, you can hardly even feel the lead hit the bottom. So what I'm thinking is if I can get a nice spread of boilies around that area, it's not going to seem to the carp, which are pressured in this lake, like a trap. It's not a small clearing in a weed, it's not a clean hard patch of gravel. So if they come into it, I'm hoping they'll start picking up the baits without even realising they're being fished for, and that would be a really big advantage. If I can get them coming in, there's a stray boilie, dropping down, having a boilie, moving on, there's another one a few feet away. You can get them start feeding and start eating the boilies without them realising that there's any trap involved. And that can be quite a potent trap, especially for big fish. When you get them moving around, I mean, I've got probably 6 or 8 kilos out there now, and I'm going to top it up. Maybe if I do get a bite and it works, I'll put in a couple of hundred every time, and I'll just keep it going out there. But I think it's important to get that spread over a wide area so it does not look like a fishing situation. Probably maybe a couple of foot between each bait over an area the size of a tennis court perhaps. It's weedy, there's blanket weeds, silt, far from ideal fishing bottom conditions really, what we would be told and what we might perceive, but I'm going to fish in that because it's the opposite. I'm going to use boilies because it's the opposite, and if it works I'll be made up. Well, I've had 5 in a night from an area that I've baited heavily with boilies. Fishing out in open water, in the silt, no gravel, really flying in the face of what's been working on the lake, and it's given me a major buzz to come here and so far have done it my way. I don't know what the rest of the trip's going to stand, but it's a great start, really pleased with that. Oh my word. Well, as you can see, it's really kicked off. Total carnage in the swim. I haven't got a rod in the water. I've got no rigs made up. I've got old rigs, wet slings, just general chaos and destruction. I need to sort my life out really. But boy, has it been worth it. I've had the best night's fishing I've had in a very long time. 7 fish I've caught now, and a couple of big uns, and they've all been fantastic fish. They fought really well, and it's been a real buzz. Best thing about it, all on the boilie. So the gamble has paid off, and that's only really the first night. So hopefully I can make it continue to roll a bit more. The fish are still out there. There's one just showed over the bait. I'm surprised there's any left actually, so I'm going to keep that going in. The only worry I've got now is, you know, sort of 7 bites and the recast and everything. They've done me through sort of best part of 10k now, so I haven't got a lot of boilie left, and that's my only worry, is that I might run out.
My baiting is very simple. I'm using crushed boilies, which I'm smashing up with the crusher tool. A few handfuls of those in the bucket. Pot of hemp, chuck that in there. Pot of mixed party mix, which has got hemp, seeds, maize, all kinds of little bits and pieces. So we've got proper cadadry of bait. Give that a little mix up. And so we've got the boilies and all the different size seeds coming together. A lovely little carp dinner. And to this I'm going to add some tuna fish. Smash it up in the tin so it's all flaked up. Put that in there. Smash it up. Mix it up a bit more. Really simple. Great carp food this. You might have seen this in the foreground. I'll show you what I'm going to do with this next. The next part of my mix involves ground bait. To make up the ground bait the correct way, I add a ground bait to the bucket. Oh, a little bit of water. We get the drill with a giant blender thing on the end of it. Basically the whisk puts lots of air into the mix, makes it really light and fluffy. Sound like D.D. Smith there. Add a bit more water. Give it another whiz. And the best result is to leave this overnight so everything soaks into it. It might be a bit dry in the morning, but you just add a bit more water to it and then you're ready to go. To this, I just add a few pellets, because if I add them to this, they'll just turn into mush and they're no good. So we'll just give this another mix. And we're ready to go. What I use this for is for capping off the top of the spod. Because this bait is very loose, it falls out of the spod really easily, and that's when it hits the water and also when you cast out. So by filling the spod about 3/4 of the way up, which is really important because if you overfill it, it tends to wobble in flight. It won't go out very well. Then I add just a bit of ground bait to the top, push it down, and you're ready to go. You cast it out, it hits the water straight away, bait comes out immediately. Wind it in. By adding the ground bait to the top, all your bait goes out on the spot, you don't get any spillage, and you can guarantee that all of this ends up out there in the swim. That's my top tip.
Jeez, these fish are absolutely incredible. It's the second morning and I am locked into battle with, I'm going to stick my neck out. This fish is the biggest one of the session. It really is so heavy feeling, and it was taking line off me at 100 yards plus out in the lake, flat rodding me. I thought it might be this mythical monster catfish. I'm just side straining it to bring it under my other line. It's so heavy, this fish. I've had it on for about 10 minutes so far, maybe 15, and it's not showing many signs of tiring. It's fish number 11, so it's been an absolutely incredible session, it really has. I only had one last night. We had the most incredible thunderstorm that I've ever known. Everything was flooded, torrential rain, lightning like I've never seen before, and the fish kind of shut up shop a bit. I had a 31 pounder and a small catfish, and then it all went quiet until this. I'm just shaking like a leaf, praying that I can get it in because it feels a bit special. Come on, baby, just a little bit more. Come on. Come on. Whoa. Whoa. That was quite simply the most incredible battle I've ever had. And it is a big fish. I don't think it's quite the Leviathan that I thought, but it's a 40 pounder from what I can see. So absolutely made up with that. Let's get him out and have a look. Whew, fish 11. It's just turned into the session of my absolute dreams, and with fish that look like this, I'm almost speechless. The scaling, the colours, and the scrap was absolutely ridiculous. I really feel like I need a cup of tea now and a lie down. Just blown away.
Thinking Tackle, sponsored by Dower Infinity.
Well, throughout this, although I'm fishing one style of fishing, just mass baiting with boilies, I'm using two very, very different rigs. One's a bottom bait presentation and one's a pop-up. And in actual fact, I've had equal numbers of bites on both, so they're both doing the business. And as soon as I've got this fella in, I'll show you how I tie them up. Yes. Brilliant. That was amazing. Just, I'm going to look like Arnie by the end of this week.
Okay, Penwar, this is what you've been getting all your bites on. Hold that up.
Half of them, yeah.
Half of them.
Yeah.
Right, hold that up so everyone can see.
Okay.
And then explain us, because there's not an 1/8 of a bit of plastic corn on there and a little tiny plastic maggot, is there?
And a size 8 hook, no.
Size 8 hook, no.
It's all a bit agricultural, isn't it? Yeah, basically it's a long link because I'm fishing in the silt. I think that's the first thing to point out.
Right.
Really, really deep, thick silt. So I've got a long link and a slow sinking presentation going on there.
Right, so the one on the end there is a cork ball pop-up.
Yeah, an activate. And
Right.
a cell. So
Right.
I'm feeding those with the throwing stick, that mix, so the hook bait is a blend of the two. Makes sense, that's what I'm feeding.
Yep.
So to make that, I
Yep.
mean, because that is a cork ball, I tie it on. So there's no hair stop. I've tied.
Now, why did you tie it? Because you said because it's a cork ball.
Yeah.
Why?
Sometimes if you put a needle through a cork ball
Yeah.
bait, then you can push a bit of cork through and it can just, you can make a big exit wound basically when you push it through.
And then water gets in, doesn't stay as buoyant as
and
long.
then once you break the outer shell, water gets, exactly, it can break and get softer and it just doesn't look neat either. So,
Right, okay.
So that's actually tied on with a grinner knot lasso.
Right, so you've stripped the coating back.
Yep, I've stripped it well back, enough to give me obviously room for 2 baits and the hook, so probably stripped about 5 inches off.
Right.
Formed the a grinner knot loop in the end.
Yep.
And then I've just lassoed the pop-up on.
Yep.
And then underneath that, and this is quite important, I've tied a couple of overhand knots within sort of 10 or 15 mil of the top bait.
Right.
And what that does, as you probably guessed by now, is when you slide your bottom bait on, it gives it something to grip to.
So it's not sliding up and down
Exactly,
the hair.
exactly.
Right. So it doesn't end up getting too close to the hook.
Exactly.
And stopping the
So
hook
they're
working.
locked in position pretty
Right.
much
Okay.
there.
And how's the hook tied on?
The hook's tied on using the sort of whipping that people are currently using for the KD rig that's popular, whereby the hair sort of exits early on in the whipping.
So a couple of turns, pull
and
the
then
hair
it's
out of the way,
That's it.
and keep going. So not simple knotless knot,
Yeah.
but just adjusted a little
Absolutely.
bit so it's coming off
Exactly. Just
further
to,
back.
Just to, I mean, Tom does very well on this, and
He does.
I'm not stupid, so I thought I'd give it a go.
And I see there a great big bit of putty on as well. How do you stop that sliding around?
What I do is I just push the coating back with my fingernail, just so it sort of ruffles up.
Concertinas it up a little
yeah,
bit.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, and that gives it something to purchase to.
Right.
And mould it around that.
Right. And why such a big bit?
Well, I don't know. I put it on all of my rigs down. I think it just helps to pull the hook down.
Right. Okay. A bit of extra weight, so when the hook link goes slack, that
Exactly,
moment.
Yeah, you've always got something pulling
It's
that
pulling
hook
it
point
down.
all the time. So.
Right. Okay. And we've got hybrid soft by the look of it on
Yeah,
there.
it's hybrid soft.
Tied
I'm fishing
on.
the dark bottom, 5-turn grinner knot straight to the ring swivel.
Right. Okay.
Very
and that's
simple.
just
That's locked in.
that
there.
ain't slipping,
No,
is it?
That's never coming off, which
Right.
obviously means that straight away, as soon as the fish runs into anything, in fact on the tape, which is the lake regulation, you're dropping the lead.
right. Okay.
Which is
Andy
ideal.
requests that, doesn't he? Because
does.
if the lead doesn't come off, the fish get snarled up in the weed,
Yeah.
and you end up losing them anyway, or they get tethered up or whatever. So that
Absolutely.
just helps when you are fishing in weed. It just helps you to get every fish in. Right. And this fella, this what can only be described as a contraption. Hold that up and let's
Yeah.
have a look at that. Tell us what it is, why you use
Right.
it, and how you tie it.
Well, this is, I say, my version of the Hinge stiff rig, which I developed a long time. I say developed, it's very simple. Instead of using the Amnesia stiff boom as we were using 10 years ago or so, found that if you want to cast this at showing fish and fish it over any kind of bottom, I wanted something that was more forgiving as a boom section, so it wouldn't stick up.
So it wasn't bolt upright out the
Exactly.
bottom, and
If there was a bit of weed or something, it wouldn't stick up and it would still sit down and blend in.
Right.
And I started off using 15-pound line straight through, and then I realised the coated section is even more robust and tough. So
Right, okay.
again, I've got hybrid soft on that, tiny bit of putty pinched on to hold it down.
right. And how have you tied that hook on?
Well, that is just a very basic, simple knotless knot,
Right.
size 6 choddy, 20-pound bristle filament.
That you've
and a
poked
cork
back
ball.
through the eye and burnt it, yeah?
Yeah, I push that through to make a little D, put a ring on there,
Right.
so that the bait can be blown back when it's in the fish's mouth.
And again, tied on so it doesn't take the water on. Now, how do
Exactly.
you get it as short as that? Because that's the thing people have trouble with, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can. The nice thing about the bristle filament, Dan, is you can tie it, because it does not slip. You can tie it with a 1-turn blood knot,
Really?
and it will not come undone.
Once around,
Yeah.
through the eye, pull it tight, that's it.
That's it. So
Right.
if you want to tie it down, I can get these down to like 10 mil.
Right.
With a 1-turn, and you know, if you bear in mind you've only got to use 1 turn, you can get it really short.
Right, you'll be doing me some later on then, son. And a ring swivel on there. I take it that's to counterbalance the buoyancy of the pop-up.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, a bit of. I mean, I balance these so it sinks down very, very slowly.
Right,
So, the
so
fish,
that whole bit is off the bottom.
Yes, that's off the bottom, so it'll sit
Right.
something like
No,
that.
Pop-ups don't work on here, mate.
No, they don't.
No.
Actually, that's a bit
Or
of that's an
boilies.
18 miller and all.
Yeah.
It's a big bait. Size 6 circle. Well, I don't know. I mean, the idea is obviously that's out there, it's critically balanced, the fish are mooching over a bed of 18 mil baits, and because it's critically balanced, the fish comes in, obviously all the other baits are heavier. I mean, the hook holes have been phenomenal, so
Yeah.
it seems to be working well. And I've had half my fish on this and half on the other presentation,
Right.
so normally you sort of find out which works and put all your
switch
rods
to
on
that,
it, but
yeah.
at the moment they're both working. So
I think I may have to change this evening.
so that's it. They're going to go back out there.
It's the morning after the second night, and I am in a state of what can only be described as angling depression. We're doing lots of work during the day. I'm not able to fish how I want. I can't prep the swim up and get bait in, so I'm turning back up in the swim late at night and then rushing to get everything done. Time rigs at 12 o'clock at night. To add insult to injury, I had a bream last night about 12:30 and promptly fell in, unhooking the bream. As you can imagine, I was overjoyed at that point. But these sort of times you just got to push on through it. So what I've basically done is cast my spot out to my right hand spot with nothing in it and sprayed boilies all over that area, loads of cell boilies all over it to basically imitate what Adam's doing, because he is showing us the way. I've never been so royally beaten up by a boilie angler in my life, but you've got to take heed of what he's doing. So I'm copying that there. I've put 2 rods on that side, I'm keeping 2 on the bait, and let's just see what happens.
Well, this is a really nice surprise. I normally associate French fishing with batteries of rods and pods and so on, but this was just 1 rod lying on the ground. It's the second bite I've had just down the bank a little bit from my swim, rod lying on the ground, and it came about from this morning. I was up early walking around with a cup of tea and there were some fish bubbling just down there in the bay, and so I went and got a single bait, cast past them, wound it in on the surface until it was over them, and then just lowered it down. It landed nicely, just 1 boilie, and that went off within 10 minutes with a 26-pound carp. Redid the rig, put it out, and it's just gone off again. It's absolutely fantastic. I've got a spot rocking properly on the middle with 2 rods on it, so this is an opportunist capture and a nice bonus. Come on, come on, in you go, just. Whoa, that was epic. What a superb scrap. Really fit fish, gin clear water. I'm having the time of my life. Well, how about that? 43.4, almost a perfect leather carp, and the result of just keeping my eyes open, cast into a bubbling fish, 1 boilie. Fantastic.
Thinking Tackle, sponsored by Dower Infinity.
Well, I'm coming around to Penwater Swim for what can only be described as Adult Carp Academy, and he's baiting up as usual.
Oh dear.
You just want more and more and more, don't you? You're just being greedy now.
I'm addicted now, Dan, I can't help it. My body's screaming at me to stop. I'm so exhausted, but 3 nights with no sleep when I'm on 8 hours a night.
Sleep
now.
when you get home, son. Hey, just keep battering them. How many have you had now?
I've had 22 bites, landed 19.
In how many nights?
3.
Which is biblical, astro-biblical, as you say, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
And considering it is completely the opposite way of fishing to the done thing on here, doesn't that make it all the sweeter?
It does, mate. It makes it incredibly sweet. You know, it couldn't be more opposite. The type of spot, the type of bait, big hooks, you know, everything. And
how critical do you think the spot is out there that you've been fishing?
Well, I'm starting to think now that because I've fished this approach on 1 or 2 other rods as well, and I've had bonus fish, but that is the spot. And although I have put most of my bait on it, I'm starting to wonder if it's one of those spots that is a crossover point or a natural foraging area, because it's so it's so thick in blanket weed and silt and general crap that I think it probably doesn't get fished. And it's probably full of natural food.
By me, to be fair, and I really did fancy this one beforehand.
Yeah.
And you know, and I would have found a bit of clear and a bit of hard and everything else. So all credit to you, mate, because I wouldn't have fished out there. I certainly will be when you go. No, but I wouldn't have done. And it's nice that, you know, to see that Hinge rig working. For me, even though, you know, I've had a nightmare of a session.
Yeah,
I mean, last night,
mate,
you know, we were talking across the lake last night because it's definitely quiet here, and I'm getting nothing, like 4 or 5 times, and like, you know what I'm like with rigs. I'm like, that's it. My stuff don't work anymore. It's gone. My mojo was gone. You know, and then in the end, like I started off with a bottom bait like that, basically, little tiny barrel, 10mm barrel, all loaded up with pineapple. Yeah, that I caught loads of fish on recently, and all the other lakes. And I thought, right, I'll just put on a bit of plastic, 2 grains of corn, popped up, slightly smaller hook, slightly smaller bait, caught a 3-pound carp within minutes of it going out, and I'd had half a dozen.
Isn't that
I think the little ones grabbing hold of the little tiny. Grabbing hold of the hook bait and just running with it, and he's just pulling it out of their mouth.
Didn't you say you had one before the bag had even melted?
Yeah, I had one where I'd cast out, I'd sunk the line, I was slackening off, and I had the rod in my hand, and it went zzz, and then stopped. And I was just
mad,
doing my Sweding, absolutely doing my head in.
Well, mate, there's nothing wrong with you. You know, there's nothing wrong with your rigs.
I know,
it's just the way it's just the planets aligned for me, and I waited a long time. You know, I said to you before, I felt like I was in the carp fishing wilderness for 2 years with like carp fishing writer's block, and it just hasn't been happening for me, and I couldn't understand why it was, because I've never been the best angler in the world, but I never struggled as much as I have the last 2 years. And it's just not just this session, but the last few trips that I've done in England, it started to come together, and not doing anything different really, but it's my time.
Every dog has his
exactly,
day,
mate, and I'm going to try and milk it while I can.
Absolutely,
and it's hard work, you know. I'm getting blisters from the throwing stick, my shoulders hurting and my back's hurting.
Oh,
you know,
bless.
Can I have one of your special massages later?
Yeah, off camera.
Keep me going, obviously.
All right, mate. Well, you carry on baiting up. I'm going to carry on fishing boilies on the other 2 rods. I've copied what you're doing exactly, which is testament to how well you're doing it, because you know me, I don't change my style of fishing, do I?
No,
but 2 rods,
cheers.
I've scattered boilies all over that corner. There's been fish showing up there. I'm fishing snowman rigs just like you.
Yeah.
But
mate, one of the ones that I saw from here looked massive from here, 300 yards away. You're going to catch him. He was enormous.
Well, let's
got
hope
your
so.
name on him.
Let's
Yeah, I hope so.
All right, son. Well, I'll go back and have a stern look at myself in the mirror, and you carry on baiting up.
I'll put this in. I'm going to have a kip. See you later. Well, here we are in Damien's Swim, which is a place of palatial elegance, I have to say, mate. I wish I brought a 2-man bibber with me. Quite comfortable here, aren't you?
Very comfortable.
Organised. Yeah. Right, you caught a lovely fish earlier.
Yep.
Really nice one, that. I think you had to make some changes, didn't you? What was going on? Do you want to talk us through it?
I mean, I set up with my standard rigs, which generally start particle fishing, sort of 7 inches, size 6 hook.
Okay.
And I had different baits on each rod. Through the lack of activity, I then changed to a KD rig on my middle rod.
Yeah.
And then changed them again. I felt that.
Do you think fish were coming in and feeding and not getting caught then?
Yeah, they were. I was getting lots of activity. I had one occurrence where the lead was shaking off. So the fish had got away with it. So I shortened the rigs right down to about 11 centimetres.
Right.
And then
what's that in old money?
About 4 1/4 inches, something like 5 inches.
4 1/4, yeah, I like it. Okay.
And caught that one, £39.
Right, excellent. Okay, so would you normally, if you're fishing over a bed of particle and you think they're coming in and maybe doing you, as we would say, would you tend to go short first rather than longer?
Yeah, I would.
Is that like a normal?
Yeah, well, it depends on depending on the first fish you catch, where the hook is in the mouth.
Right.
If it's right on the edge of the lip,
yeah.
then I'd shorten it even further, which sounds a bit mad, but just because I'm using short rigs, short stiff hook links with the combi rig, I tend to think the hook comes up and gets them straight away. Right. You know, and it works for me. Yeah. So I shortened the rigs down and obviously caught that one.
So that 39 pounder that you caught, what was that hook like?
Really well, right in the corner, right there. Okay. So it wasn't coming off.
Well, the change that you made, the winning rig combination that caught that fish, and the one, I guess you got it on all your rods now.
I have now, yeah, all 3.
Well, do you want to show us what you ended up with? Right, okay.
So this is, let's start here. You've got is this both 2 bits of normal sinking maize?
It is, yeah, straight out of the jar.
Okay.
In the particle mix.
Flavoured?
No, just standard.
Okay.
Just how it comes, really. You've got a size 8 wide gate, short piece of shrink tube, little soft section on the hybrid.
Just before you go further down the hook link, Damo, you've got a ring on the shank there.
I have, yeah.
I mean, I see some people, I use a bit of silicone. What do you think that gives it an advantage, or is it how it sits that you like to do it like that?
Yeah, I mean, Dan's used this a lot. It's been in the show before. It just makes the point of the hook heavy, so it always sort of spins round. If it's got a piece of silicone on there, I think there isn't as much movement.
Restricts it?
Yeah, it does a bit. And when fish is hooked, it can slide up out of the way.
Right, okay.
You know, it's a rig I've used for quite a few years and caught loads of fish on it.
Right, okay. So this is your 4 1/4 inch stiff hybrid?
It is, yeah, 20-pound stiff hybrid.
Right.
Under the silicone sleeve, we've got a little link loop.
Ah, right.
See?
Now, what's the point? Is that so you can? Are you threading on sticks or?
I am actually. Yeah, I'm putting a little bag on there, a bag of pellets, not a stick so much. Just sliding it over the hook link and bring it down, just to give it a bit more weight, so there's less likelihood of a tangle.
Right. Right.
And as you can see, there's a little metal thing there, which is a crimp, and that's so that we can, instead of tying a knot, you can just crimp your hook link on there and get them the same length every time. Very quick to tie. Nice. And easy to attach with a link loop onto this little clip.
And that's all sheathed up with this sleeve?
It is, yeah. I mean, just normally when I'm fishing, if I've caught a couple of fish or caught a fish, caught another one, you could just unhook it, put a new one on, whack it straight back out on the spot.
For speed fishing, yeah, okay. And this is terminating here. I think that's one of the new hybrid leg clips, is it?
It is, yeah. We take this tail rubber off and you can see the metal part that the lead is attached to.
So the thing with this clip is that the swivel is all one piece inside the moulding.
Yeah, so there's no way that the lead can't come off. So if it gets caught up, you can just easily pull off.
Because the swivel's never pulling out,
exactly.
Because it's all one piece. Yep. Safe zone leader.
Yep.
So you're fishing, I guess you're fishing on a gravel spot and...
Yeah, very hard bottom, really hard, cast out the rod and the lead just goes donk.
Right.
You know you're fishing on hard, so you can get away with a bigger lead, 3.5 ounce swivel pair.
Okay.
Yeah,
lovely.
A very short rig.
Very, very neat, I have to say. There's just a couple of things I just wanted to... I see you're prepared already for the night ahead.
Yep.
And there's a couple of interesting things here. I mean, you're using these crimping pliers.
Yep.
These something new you've got sort of going on?
Yeah, they're for crimping the hook link. All you do is it's like a double barrel, like on a shotgun, if you like. But
double barrel crimp.
Exactly.
Right.
Pass the line through. You've got the little hole there.
Yeah.
Just put it in, and it just squeeze it up into the gap.
Well, it's extremely neat. But how strong is that?
Oh, it breaks. It's stronger than a knot.
Is it?
Yeah, we tested it at work.
Okay.
And that 20-pound hybrid breaks it over 28 pounds. And the knot will go before.
There you go.
Crimp.
More than strong enough, much stronger than the knot, and obviously much neater than the knot. And I think the interesting thing as well is that you've got these rigs here, Damo.
Yep.
If you're crimping, you can make every rig, once you've found your winning combination, which Damien obviously has, every one is exactly the same. Absolutely perfect, beautifully tied rigs. The only thing that Damien's done here, I think, to give yourself some flexibility is you've got the hairs are not tied yet.
No, in case I want to change the hook bait.
Absolutely.
That way I can just be
flexible.
Very flexible and just do whatever I want to do.
Right, so very precise, very neat. What I'd expect, mate, to be honest. And you're ready for the night ahead. I hope you get some.
So do I.
Good man.
Let's hope so.
And what a difference 24 hours makes. 26.5 pounds of muscle-packed mirror. Well chuffed with this one after a bit of a drought on the old run front. The same rod as has been going, this time over a big spread of boilies, and I've had another aborted take since I had this bite just a little while ago, and it's looking like the fish have moved in on the boilies, so you never know, we might get another one, but it just shows you've just got to persevere and push on through the hard times. Well, this fish is on a boilie after being shown the way by Mr. Penning. Thank you very much to him and to Damo for coming over here. Obviously Adam has had the session of his life. and it's certainly added a completely new dimension to my fishing. And there are lakes in England which are dominated by boilies, which I feel far more confident in fishing just the boilie approach, hanging the spod rod up and just getting on the boilies. And it's certainly added another dimension to my fishing, and I hope it has done to yours. So we'll get this fella in, show you the prize, and we'll see you in the next show. Thank you very much for watching.
Thinking Tackle, sponsored by Dower Infinity.